Welcome to Nightmare Chronicles. Tonight's tale delves deep into the mystery of Blackwood House, a haunted mansion with dark secrets that lure in only the most daring, those willing to confront the nightmares that await inside. Are you ready to face the darkness? Then settle in and prepare for a journey into Blackwood House. Nestled in the woods of an old, isolated town, Blackwood House had a sinister reputation. Known by locals as the place where shadows live, Blackwood House had stood abandoned for over 70 years. But rumors persisted of strange lights in the windows, disembodied voices, and silhouettes that wandered the house at night. Despite the warnings, Alice was determined to uncover the truth. As an aspiring paranormal investigator, she couldn't resist the mystery. She'd read about the house and the fate of the Blackwood family, particularly Henry Blackwood, the son who dabbled in dark rituals before the family mysteriously vanished. So, with a mix of excitement and fear, she gathered her friends, Ben and Riley, to document their night in Blackwood House. The trio arrived at sunset, the sky casting a deep red glow over the towering trees and the old mansion. The path was overgrown, the iron gate hanging loose, swaying in the wind. As they approached, the house loomed large and silent, almost as if it were waiting for them. The air inside was stale and heavy, with a coldness that seeped into their bones the moment they crossed the threshold. The floorboards creaked with each step, and their flashlights barely cut through the suffocating darkness. The house seemed to have absorbed years of silence, and every sound they made felt wrong, as if disturbing something ancient. Alice, Ben, and Riley split up to explore. They decided to regroup in an hour to share any findings. Ben took the first floor, Alice the attic, and Riley, reluctantly, agreed to take the basement. Ben's journey through the main floor was slow and cautious. The dining room still held an eerie tableau, an old wooden table set with dusty plates and cutlery. As if the Blackwoods had just left, a decaying chandelier hung above, swaying slightly even though there was no wind. As Ben examined the table, he heard faint laughter echoing from the hallway, a child's laughter. He froze, pulse quickening, and called out, but there was no answer. After a moment's hesitation, he ventured into the hall, where he saw something that made him shiver. The wallpaper was peeling away in strange patterns that almost seemed intentional, like runes or symbols carved into the walls. In the distance, a soft music box tune started to play, echoing through the empty rooms. It was an old, melancholic melody. Ben followed the sound to a small, dark sitting room, where an ancient music box sat open on a side table, its handle slowly winding itself as it played. He could have sworn he saw a pair of eyes watching him from the corner, but when he shone his light, there was nothing there. In the basement, Riley was trying to keep her nerves steady. The staircase leading down seemed endless, twisting and turning until it was nearly pitch black. She clicked on her flashlight, taking each step cautiously. At the bottom, she found herself in a narrow corridor lined with old portraits, their eyes eerily following her every move. Most unsettling was the portrait of a man with deep-set, haunting eyes. Henry Blackwood, she assumed. He seemed to glare at her with an intensity that made her feel watched. Riley passed by shelves filled with books and objects that appeared ritualistic candles, strange symbols painted on bones, and jars filled with odd substances. She could hear faint whispers as she moved deeper into the basement. Whispers that seemed to come from all around her, though she was entirely alone. In a far corner, she found a small, locked door with scratch marks on the floor, as if something had clawed to get out. She tried to shake the door, but it wouldn't budge. Suddenly, a cold hand seemed to brush her shoulder. She spun around, seeing nothing but shadows that seemed to shift and twist. She rushed back up the stairs, eager to escape the oppressive darkness below. Alice made her way to the attic, a place notorious for its strange happenings. The stairway up was narrow, and she felt the temperature drop with each step. The attic was large, filled with dusty furniture, trunks, and old toys scattered on the floor. It felt almost frozen in time. In the far corner, she found a small altar, covered in dust. On it lay an open book, its pages filled with arcane symbols. Alice carefully opened a page, recognizing strange rituals and incantations that she remembered from her research. This was where Henry Blackwood had practiced his rituals. As she inspected the book, a gust of cold air swept through, and she heard a faint whisper. Alice, her own name, spoken as if right in her ear. She turned around, expecting to see Ben or Riley, but there was no one. Just then, she felt a presence behind her. She turned slowly, her flashlight casting shadows on the wall in there. Reflected in the dusty attic window, she saw the outline of a tall figure standing directly behind her, its hollow eyes gazing at her reflection. Shaken, Alice hurried back downstairs to find her friends. They gathered in the living room, all visibly disturbed by their experiences. Each described what they'd encountered. The whispers, the cold touches, the strange figures. They were scared, but also intrigued. This was what they had come for. They decided to conduct a spirit box session to try and communicate with whatever was haunting the house. They turned on the spirit box, and Alice asked, "Who are you?" For a moment, there was only static. Then, a single word came through, low and distorted. "Henry." They all froze, and then Ben asked, "Why are you here?" Again, static, then trapped. The voice was harsh, filled with agony. The lights in the room flickered, and a door slammed somewhere in the house. They felt a sudden, overwhelming cold, and the air grew thick, heavy with something unseen but undeniably present. Just as they were about to end the session, they heard footsteps upstairs. They looked up, and from the second floor, they could see a shadow moving across the landing, a tall, thin figure with hollow eyes and a twisted grin. It paused, looking down at them, before fading into the darkness. Panicking, they decided to leave, but as they reached the front door, it wouldn't budge. No matter how hard they pulled, it stayed firmly shut. Windows were locked too, and they quickly realized they were trapped. Alice tried to recall the ritual details from the attic, hoping to find a way to appease Henry's spirit. They rushed back up, retracing her steps to the altar, the attic now even colder and darker. As they set up a makeshift ritual, they heard Henry's laughter echoing around them, now sounding almost mocking, as if he were toying with them. Shadows began to coalesce in the corners, forming skeletal hands that reached out, stretching toward them. Just as Alice finished the ritual, there was a blood-curdling scream, and the shadows dissolved into nothing. The house grew silent, and the oppressive cold lifted. They stumbled down the stairs, finally reaching the front door. which now swung open easily. Outside, the night air felt warm compared to the chill they'd felt inside. They looked back at the house, and in the attic window, they saw Henry's figure one last time, watching them. His hollow eyes filled with something close to satisfaction, as if he'd won some twisted game. And so, Alice, Ben, and Riley escaped Blackwood House. But they left something behind. Piece of their souls, perhaps claimed by the shadows. Rumor has it, if you listen closely, near Blackwood House on a cold, still night, you'll hear whispers calling you inside. Just remember, some doors are best left closed. This is Nightmare Chronicles, and until next time, stay out of the shadows.